am calling this meeting to order. This is a regular meeting, despite the somewhat irregular time. Today, among other things, we will be doing an open public hearing on the budget. So, do I have a motion to establish the agenda as posted?
I move to establish the agenda as posted. Second.
All in favor of establishing the agenda as posted, please say aye.
Aye.
I forgot to mention, we have Director Lee on Zoom and the other four of us here in person. Thank you. Okay, so I'm now opening the public hearing on the 2025 to 2026 budget. That does not require a motion. There's no one signed up for public comment particularly.
I think we just asked, is there anyone
Is there-
here
yeah.
who's wanting to speak about the budget?
Are people able to chime in if they want to online?
So I will give them the ability to raise their hand. Share this, we send reactions. So if any of the viewers would like to add any comments or questions around the budget, please either raise your hand or I can even enable the chat. So,
And I'll just read the little spiel here, which is the public is invited to appear during the open public hearing on the budget portion of this meeting to offer comments for or against any part of the district's proposed 2025 to 2026 budget, including the 4-year budget plan or any proposed changes to uses of enrichment funding. The proposed budget is available to view, attached on Word docs, and will be provided to any person at the district's administration office upon requests, or obviously people can look it up on Word docs. So we'll give it like a minute, and then if nobody has any questions, then.
I'm just watching, there's two. I was gonna send that message in the chat.
Yeah.
Great.
No? Okay. Then I am going to close the public hearing on the 2025 to 2026 budget, which also does not require a motion. Thank you all very much. And we will move on with the rest of our meeting, which is related to the budget. Okay, next item is partial governance process monitoring. This is the resolution number 744 to approve the 2025 to 2026 budget. We've had it presented to us, we've had some discussion of it. Do board members want additional discussion of it? Questions, comments?
Not really, I think that was clarified to me last meeting.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a responsible budget. I think it follows the board's priorities with regards to making sure our current students' needs are met as best as we can with the revenue provided by the state, and that our plan to rebuild the fund balance is done appropriately and responsibly in a way to reach our goals and make sure that our students' needs are being met.
Thanks.
I do not support a budget that contemplates and has in fact resulted in cuts to nurses and librarians that are at the core of our district. We approved a contract that we could not afford and we're not told that we could not afford. And I do not believe that the lack of 100% of funding from the state excuses us from our responsibility and accountability for a balanced budget. Without balanced and sustainable budgets, we can't have sustainable and strong programs, full stop. Accountability starts at the local level, not kicking the can.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, this is a balanced budget. It involves making decisions when we don't receive the funding that we receive to make the best decisions we can in order to have a balanced budget.
So we did not end up having to cut nurses plural. And spent a lot of time kind of working out the plan that we did end up with. Christina, sorry, you looked like you were moving to a space, I think it's like an audition.
But I will echo that as I said, talking about finances is always difficult and it has not been easy the last 3 meetings that we have talked about it. We have diminished how much we will be spending by not replacing some of the people who are retiring. So that is something that it is heavy on us. But at the same time, I do believe that what we have talked about the last 3 meetings, it is a balanced budget within the news that we are at this moment in time. And there's not much with what we are receiving as revenues from the state. So
Again, as everyone's mentioned, we've been talking about this for 3 meetings in a row now, so I don't want to drag it out and start the whole discussion all over again. Jody, do you have anything to say from TV land there?
No, I agree with Christina's point. I think we've amply covered our budget issues, and I think we're doing the best as we can in the current funding climate. And I also point out that we have discussed at length every step that the superintendent and his team are making to balance, to keep our budget and to act responsibly given the fiscal situation. So there's ample opportunity for board members to have weighed in the last several times that we've discussed this.
Okay.
And I would just say, I think that the work that goes into the spring to make this happen by our finance team and our HR teams, this really helps us to know that going into the July and August months, we have the budget for the next year as we start thinking about the strategic planning and adaptations for the future years. So I certainly want to make sure that both departments fully understand my appreciation, and it is not lost on me the heavy lift to do this while we're still trying to wrap up a school year. But going into July, it feels great to have a budget. So thank you very, very much.
Do you have a motion?
I move that we approve resolution 744 to approve the 2025-26 budget.
All in favor of approving resolution 744, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, that is, passes by a vote of 4-1. Thank you all. The next item is our update on the 2024 to 2025 financial dashboard and our monthly budget status report for May.
Got it. Provided to you, obviously, is a dashboard, our budget status report, and also the notes of the financial dashboard through May or through May 31st, 2025, or through about 75% of our fiscal school year. Expenditures are at 74.9%, which is exactly on track per budget. Revenue is about 72.4%, and something that you'll notice throughout this, where I highlight the expenditures and revenues, is obviously that we receive a lot of those taxes, local taxes, in April, and hence we see that kind of decrease drop off, if you will, in May. It should also be noticed that state apportionment drops off significantly from 9% in April to 5% in May, because as you know, the state's fiscal year ends in June, so they start to decrease, if you will, apportionment to the districts. And as subtext, they actually shorted us in June by about $250,000 because of budget constraints at the state level. We will make that up in July and August, but I did want to put that out there.
Can you just clarify that that's a 2-month recovery? They don't just make it all up in July. We'll see it over July and August. Is that typically, or we don't know?
We should see it all made up in July.
Okay.
And yeah, like I said, the reason was budget constraints or restrictions at the state level. Is the answer they gave us in monthly apportionment. Yes.
So when you say they shorted us, like they didn't have cash on hand to pay us the money that they were supposed to pay us?
Cash on hand and/or there was some regulatory environmental limpia that prevented them from providing us about $250,000.
Okay.
I think it was about 76 million across the state, obviously per the 295 districts, percentage thereof.
But it's a good illustration of like why we do need to have our
Correct.
reserves on hand, just because you never know.
Correct. Myself, Director Garcia-Faber, and Director Adams have discussed this. I think in our dozen years or so, we've seen this happen about 4 times throughout our tenure. So it does happen. The most recent was a transportation funding shortage several years ago.
Another question from Dan.
Yeah, piggybacking off of Maggie Ty's comment about the importance of reserves, can you provide clarity as to how we are calculating the general fund reserves? There's been a number of questions I've asked about if it's go forward, looking forward to the next 12 months. We close out the year obviously on August 31st. It seems to me that when we're looking at the denominator, that we should be going forward for the next year. And that's the discussion about budgeted and proposed expenditures that then become actual. But can you please provide clarity regarding the calculation of the general fund reserve and specifically what is in the denominator?
So you want, I'll allow Director Sullivan to go over that. I think we're just gonna repeat what we had sent you in an email.
And I mean, just for the public record,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
there's no requirement, like, so everyone understands how we're calculating.
The denominator is year-end, August 31st, whatever year it is, total actual expenditures.
So it actually would be then in reverse, because we close out on August 31st, and then the expenditures would have already taken place for that year. So it would be past expenditures.
Correct. That's
Okay.
industry standard for calculating fund balance.
Well, perhaps in school districts, but generally, operating reserves are generally on a go-forward basis. And the discussion has been about putting aside money for salaries going forward, not in reverse. I mean, I just ask because there's a lot of, talk about we're out of accounting tricks. We've used all the tricks in the book. And so I just want to be clear what all these tricks are, including the calculation of the general fund
Your
reserve.
implication, I'm asking them to change your tone. Your implication that people are doing things wrong and backhanded is actually getting a little bit offensive. I don't mind the questions, but can you check your tone? And also, this is a school district. So if we followed accounting principles for a different type of organization, that would seem to be improper.
And it seems most school districts can balance their budget.
Can you check the tone, please? It's really disrespectful.
Let's have a policy discussion rather than a tone discussion, Deborah.
Okay, we're in the middle of getting an update on our monthly, we're gonna call it financial reports, so can we finish that?
Sure. Moving on to expenditures, as I noted before in regard to taxes, et cetera. Expenditures have a slight decrease due to higher run start bills in April, hence we saw a drop, if you will, in May. And then support and community services, there was a decrease to the second half payment of our insurance in April. It's a very large bill, almost $600,000. We didn't have to pay that obviously in May. And the revenues, we see those same type of decreases, if you will. The one thing I did want to point out was monthly fund balance, cash on hand year over year. We've seen this increase, and in particular, this is a positive increase year over year, about $827,000, which is positive and shows us going in the right direction in regard to our fund balance.
Thank you.
Can you comment just briefly, last year we had can you pull the graph portion that compares cash on hand? Yep. Last year, obviously, we keep spending through the summer and then we see it come back up. How is the impact of the states shorting us going to impact this graph as we look at June? Like, I think we were hoping that orange line was gonna be higher. Is it gonna go lower in June because of that and then a quick acceleration back? And I asked that because we don't meet in July. So I think we came back in August last year, and I think we faced some questions and some scrutiny from the board about why the June and July, and I just don't want there to be surprises. So when we come back in August, how do you anticipate that graph kind of looking?
We will, we'll see a little bit of a dip into June. If you notice, last year we were in the negative almost 1.8 million. We will not see that in June. We should see a ever so slightly above positive for June. Of course, March and June are our thinnest times of the year. in particular because of how apportionment is given to us through the course of the 12 months via OSPI. But once again, we'll see the increase in great bump in July and August.
And then we also have safety net, which we received an initial.
Correct.
It's an initial preliminary award.
About 1.5 million safety net will be remitted to us via the state for those expenditures, as much as we can claim via special services.
And this will be the last year that we get them in August. Starting next year, they're gonna start moving them, or is that the following year?
Following year.
Okay, so we have one more year of this, wait until August to get the money, and then after that, we should see it at incremental steps throughout the year as the new legislation. Okay, thank you.
Any other board comments? No, I just, as a point of information, want to say, I don't believe anyone in the district, especially from our financial staff, has ever made the statement that Director Glowitz attributed to them, that they've tried all the tricks, or like they're out of tricks. Like, I'm not sure that I've ever heard that phrase. What I have seen is the financial staff, like, exhausting every possible legal, possibility for getting the reimbursement that we deserve as a district from the state.
I made that
That's not the
comment
same.
to our legislators
Yeah.
because helping them to understand that, all of the different tricks in terms of trying to expend money out of certain reserve or certain balances, or trying to make sure that we have appropriately moved things like DI out of one fund and into the correct place so that we maintain. Those are all the things that we've tried to do over time to try to make sure that we balance it. I think the out of tricks is we're at that place where apportionment's gonna be apportionment, and we're gonna deal with the fallout of a loss of 250,000, so.
Right,
It's-
okay, so
Tricks is
clarifying.
synonymous with strategies, legal and appropriate strategies, rather than trying to sneak something in underhanded.
Right. Christina?
I was just going to say that pretty much that there's strategies, and then also there's tough decisions.
Yeah.
So although we and you are balancing those decisions, but those are without, it doesn't come without impact to students or staff. So we're trying to persuade the legislations to do a shift for all the students in the state.
Understood that what, some may characterize as tricks, others characterize as strategies. I think at the end of the day, ultimately where we are is that we have the second highest paid teachers in the country, which, teachers do a very important job, but there is not a lack of money. What there is a lack of accountability. And McCleary has become an excuse for administrators and for boards to manage their own finances, and the consequences are clear. It's cuts to the programs and the curriculums, though taxpayers are paying more than they ever have for public schools. And that needs to end.
We don't have the second highest teacher salaries in the country.
According to NEA, we do.
We do?
Yes.
Where's Jody? Yeah.
Mercer Island does not, they also don't account cost of living. I mean, we can fudge numbers any way we want.
Okay, I see you, Jody, and then Erin also has her hand up. Can I go to Erin first? Yeah, Erin.
Yeah, I think, point of clarity, I think it wasn't the comment, and I'm gonna look to Director Phillips to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the comment isn't specific your comment was not based on some statistic relating to Mercer Island specific, but perhaps to the state of Washington.
I would say that there is an attitude that's pervasive throughout the state that seems to suggest that there is no responsibility of local school boards to manage finances until, quote unquote,
That's
the
not
state
responsive to what
fully
she said.
funds education, putting aside the fact that we receive more from our state than 47 other states receive from their state capitals in the country. Accountability starts at the local level and taking responsibility for the choices, whether those are compensation or cuts that result from the financial decisions that we make.
Okay, sorry, I had recognized Jody. Or Jody, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that this idea that there isn't a funding crisis in our schools is not one that's shared by the by most people who are interested in funding crisis. And also, I think that this board and this administration and our extremely capable financial officers are doing everything that they can to mitigate the funding crisis and everything that they can to provide a quality education to the children in our schools. You see them working very hard, and you see the board working very hard to provide that education. And I think I'm not sure where this is coming from, this idea that like nobody's doing anything and we're just using excuses, because I don't see that in the work that I see in the administration or on the board. And I find it a little bit troubling, but I'm also not there in the room, so I'm going to let it go for now.
Thank you. Are we
That's
ready
our
to
update.
move on? That's the update. Thank you. Okay. Next item is Board Policy 1800 OB9 Communication Support to the Board, renewal of PSESD Comprehensive School Safety Cooperative Interlocal Cooperative Agreement 2025 to 2026.
Great. This is an annual cooperative. It's much like an interlocal that we have with the city, but this is one where districts, especially districts of our size in the PSESD, can leverage one another. At times we put this on the consent agenda, but I think it's important, especially as people oftentimes ask or wonder about school safety and what are we working on. And so the types of support that we receive from a cooperative like this, first and foremost is our threat assessment. We have been part of the threat assessment since the beginning in the PSESD. It not only gives us access to training, but it also gives us the latest resources so that we can manage threats or potential threats that our students and or schools may face. So that is one. Two, we also have safety lead meetings that we have opportunities to attend and participate in. There's professional development, crisis team, flight team trainings and resources. And so it just provides that opportunity where we don't have multiple schools who can get together, high schools, and share the very best. We can then work with other districts. So, you know, it's been a great resource for us. I have appreciated the support on this from the board over the years and just ways that we can continue to get better. In addition, though not part of this, we will be launching Raptor technologies in our schools next year. We mentioned this, I believe, in one previous board meeting, but just as a reminder, Raptor is the technology that we currently use when you go into schools as a volunteer and you check in at the front counter. That technological system, they have many more components to their suite, including reunification, other safety and security, how are we interacting with police and fire. So we're going to be rolling out a more comprehensive plan that we'll have more information on in August. So I'm excited about this because it's going to streamline systems just like we're doing with Parent Square. So happy to take any questions.
Just to clarify, this will support the enhancement of the security of schools around our district.
Yeah, what you'd be approving today is allowing us to continue to be part of the cooperative, which is ongoing, so we can continue to get the best training. The Raptor Technologies is how do you apply that training? It's a new tool, separate from the agreement that you're agreeing to today, but certainly want to make sure that you as a board and our community know that you know, safety and security is still one of the paramount values in our 4 values, and this is how we're living that.
Thank you. Yeah. I know you don't have to specifically report to us about this every spring, but it's always nice to hear that we're still involved in the cooperative and it's continuing to be useful. So thank you.
Yeah.
So this is an approval thing. Yeah, we need action. Do I have a motion?
So moved, that we approve item 3C is posted to the agenda.
Okay, all in favor of approving, what's it called? Approving the interlocal cooperative agreement for the PSESD Comprehensive School Safety Cooperative, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Okay, thank you. That is 5-0. Thanks, Fred.
You bet.
And then just before we go on to the next one, can I just ask for some clarification from either you or Aaron about the comment that Mercer Island had the second highest teacher salary?
Washington State was the comment.
I don't think she's a person.
Yeah, is that in fact Washington State has the second highest teacher salaries in the country? And is that starting salary or just average salary? Because I'm sitting here looking at the NEA report and it looks like there's a difference.
I don't know offhand on the NEA report, there's lots of different ways that different states measure that, just like there's different ways that states will say that we're the lowest funded or we're the highest funded.
Yeah.
You know, are they taking just the state apportionment or state plus local? So there's lots of different ways that you'll see that reported. So I don't know offhand, turn to HR.
Yeah, and I don't know specifically what what report Director Bowles was referencing. I was just adding clarity to, what I thought that there was discussion that was implying a misunderstanding of Director Bowles' statement, that it was specific to Mercer Island. I was just trying to clarify that I understood, and I thought that he was saying, that it was the state, not Mercer Island specific, because I didn't want there to be to misconstrue that the district itself was the second highest in the nation. So I don't have a basis to speak specific to the whatever source.
Yeah.
I was just adding clarity there, because to me, it seemed like there was I was hearing one thing, so I was just trying to add clarity.
Thank you.
Yeah, as I've said before and shared with Fred, the sources are both the NEA, which is median salary, as well as, and I think I've shared with you as well, Maggie Ty, Bureau of Labor Statistics, which we come in either second or third. It's like we're neck and neck with New York, Washington State.
Not Mercer Island.
But what one has seen since 2018 is an escalation continuously of compensation without any accountability.
Right.
And at the expense of cuts to curriculum. And I don't support cutting librarians or nurses.
Okay, can you make your, it's a board policy that we stop with the repetitive comments, and
Yes.
we've heard the position.
Yeah, I just wanted clarification, because
Well,
I just wanted,
we need clarification, so I'm trying to provide it,
yeah,
Deborah.
but I needed clarification on whether you were saying Mercer Island or Washington State. Thank you.
I've made clear
Yes.
over the years.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I think the context I would add into it is, you know, what do you as a board expect and prioritize? And you know, I've tried to continue to articulate and do the best I can on all of your OEs. And one of the OEs is compensation. And it's to attract and retain the very best educators. And that's a regional thing that we're in competition with other districts all the time for educators. And the state does not bargain centrally. It's 295 districts across the state who are all bargaining with their units and their staff. I think our team, led by Aaron over the years, and then supported by many, many administrators, do the very best to partner with our partners with MIEA and others. We also work with our administrators, but you know, I think the dynamics at play are illustrated by this conversation today, and that is, in OE7, we're talking about financial administration, we have asset protection, we have evaluations, we have compensation, and you know, there's a confluence here, and it is give and take, but I can't control everything for the state piece, but we do the best we can at the local level to do what we can to offer the very best for our district under your OEs.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Next item is Board Policy 1800 OE6, Budgeting and Financial Planning. This is an update on certified FTE for this year.
So I will turn this over to Aaron.
So 2024 to 2025.
Yep. So there was a conversation around kind of as we were wrapping up the current school year, where were we with our update to FTE? We provided kind of a classified look as it as well. So Aaron.
Yeah, realistically, since the last time we presented, there wasn't a certificated increase, there was a small classified increase. And so this just reflects that. I don't know if there's any questions or more information.
Increase from the last report, not to be confused with increase year over year.
Yeah, correct, increase from the last report, because at the time when we originally presented, it was just, it said that we were still potentially hiring some people, and you'll see that there's a minor increase there in paraeducation support. So this is just our promise.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Christina?
I only have the question, that's you, the red number at the top. So why is it red there? Is there, or just?
So that's where the increase was?
Yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Highlight, yeah.
we hired two, since we met last time, we hired two
Okay.
paraprofessionals.
Yeah.
I saw that, yeah.
Which is reflected
It was
there.
just distracted me. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. And that was only for information. So, next item is, Board Policy 1605, monitoring superintendent performance, and Board Policy 1001, governance commitment. This is the mid-year superintendent evaluation and contract extension for superintendent's contract of employment. And this will require action. So, we, let me get the letter up. A moment. To those who are not going to take the time to poke through the superintendent's contract, there's no salary increase involved in this contract. It's just a part of the superintendent's normal kind of one-year rolling extension added on to his 3-year contract. Is that correct? Right? Yes. I was just going to read the letter, if that makes sense to folks. I'm not gonna read the whole thing because there's a bunch of sort of boilerplate, as per Board Policy 1605, the board has reviewed your progress towards Board Policy 001 and operational expectations. In addition to these accomplishments, the board would like to highlight specific contributions in several areas of your work. Those are community engagement, facilities planning, problem solving, and funding and advocacy. Community engagement, I'm pleased to recognize your consistently exemplary level of outreach in our community, both in communicating with the public about our schools and our students' accomplishments, and in remaining accessible to parents and community members requesting information or wanting to share their experiences and concerns. With facility planning, although the school bond fell 3% short of the supermajority required to pass, we appreciate the district having a clear commitment to transparency and community engagement throughout the process. We feel that the open sharing of budget details, willingness to gather and consider public input, and effort to build understanding across the community reflected a thoughtful and neutral approach that strengthened public trust. With problem solving, the board applauds your creativity and flexibility in navigating this year's potential RIF. We are pleased to have avoided a RIF. In addition, we commend you for your hard work, particularly with our nurses and administrators, to create a plan for nurse staffing that prioritizes student health needs and respects our nurses' ethical and professional needs while still reducing costs. And finally, funding and advocacy. The board applauds your continued progress in rebuilding our district's fund balance in the face of numerous financial challenges. In addition, we have witnessed your work advocating with our state leaders for improvements in school funding for all Washington state districts in general, as well as for Mercer Island in particular. Basically, thank you, Fred, for your work this year, and it has not been an easy year, like from many different standpoints, and overall the board feels like you're doing an excellent job. So, thank you. I was gonna give all the board members a chance to make just like a brief comment if they would like. And the letter is attached up together with the contract and a copy of the contract showing any changes to this item on board docs if people want to read it themselves. Jody, since you're sitting on the left, can I start with you if you have any comments?
I just wanted to reiterate obviously I saw that and helped contribute to the draft of the letter, but just want to reiterate my own appreciation for Fred's stewardship over this last year. As Maggie said, it has been very challenging on any number of levels, but including just his stewardship of providing countless briefings, informational briefings to the community and also to individuals or small groups who requested it about the bond effort. It's a fine line that the district employees walk, and I think Fred cued it exactly right. He provided information without providing advocacy, which is exactly what he's supposed to do. But then non-bond members, he's been a tireless advocate for our schools and our district. And I particularly note that when I attend meetings with Senator Wellman or other elected officials, they seem to rely on the information that he gives them, that he provides them as part of their decision-making, which shows me that he is being an effective voice with our legislators for our district.
Thank you. Deborah?
It's the last time I get to do this. I just want to note, just first of all, that I've seen very few contracts where a leader is really in like the low range of pay in our region and not asking even for a minimum a cost of living increase. And I know that it's because of your values and commitment to the district in terms of knowing where we are, that other people are, tightening the belt and just, it's, personally, it's not necessary that we don't balance the budget on the backs of the people that are making the impact. So I just want to note that you didn't ask for it when you certainly have a right to, and I think there's frankly very few people out in this world who wouldn't. And it's, at a time like this, it's noticeable and it says so much about your character and your commitment to our community. It's been a really tough year, like I think both of them have said so far. Your role not only as a superintendent, but mentor, educator, leader, therapist, friend, parent, is instrumental. There aren't a lot of people in this community that have the opportunity to have relationships with superintendents and other board directors around the state to know how things are and to really be able to appreciate and be amazed at what we have in you. And just thinking back to 4 years ago of, all right, I'll stay in if you stay in. And one of the biggest questions I get is, how is he willing to stick around and do this? And I was like, I have no idea. But I'm just eternally grateful that you are. And, it's been a really challenging year. I've seen it on your face. It's, there's lots of highs and there's lots of lows. And, but the way that you manage things and try and find a balance, and, it's exactly what we need. And I cannot imagine having a job where everyone thinks they can do better all the time and second guessing every decision you make. I appreciate the questioning, and I have learned so much watching you manage those questions with grace and humility in order to get us to a better place. I wish oftentimes the tones would be different and that those questions are done with respect and really an opportunity for all of us to improve. But that's how you hear it, even when it isn't intended that way. And that's just like, for me, the true definition of a leader is always looking to make things better. I think you have about the toughest job around. And not only in the decisions that you have to make, the impact of our children, it's not a corporate job where you can kind of let the tide take us where it is, because a third grader only gets third grade once. And so if you don't meet those needs at the moment in time, we're failing those third graders, right? And so I just can't imagine. It has been a privilege it has been a privilege to work with you. I'm looking forward to staying engaged in the next 6 months, partially engaged, no, fully engaged. And I can't thank you enough for what you've done for our district. And, there's always different ways of doing things. And I've watched you learn and question and listen to different perspectives, and then be willing with the humility to say, hey, there's a better way to do this than I was doing it, and let's try something new. And I don't think there could be a better definition of a leader. So thank you. I know that you're going to be here much longer than I am. And so I just appreciate it and look forward to seeing where else you take us.
Thanks. Christina?
She's so well off my content, I had to follow that speech. Sorry. She had to,
She did do nothing.
the last one, so she really had to. But, yeah,
You can,
she is getting she's gonna get emotional now. Me too. But I would just say that, due to that, and I will say that being a superintendent is also an endurance sport, because you have to deal with it's an ultra marathon. Absolutely, you have to deal with all the up and downs of the stakeholders that we are not easy because our biggest investments are in the schools. So we know how tough it can be, but I also acknowledge like where you take the kids. And I know that you do it with you really care about the kids, and that's why you have led us where we are, and I appreciate every step that you have made. Some of them are very tough decisions, and we're gonna continue doing some tough decisions, some fun decisions, but after seeing the last two graduations, the correct graduations and the high school graduation, I could not be more proud of those students that have gone through the district. And it was not an easy group of students going through COVID, middle school and high school, and at the same time, they are going to great places. They're great kids, and I'm very proud. And this is due to the district that supports those students. So.
To begin with, I note that this contract amendment would extend the employment agreement through June 30th, 2028, which is 3 years from now. I mean, I've talked earlier about sort of odd anomalies in how employment compensation works in public education and why maybe it's broken and we should take accountability to fix it. I think the duration of a 3-year contract is a good place to start, particularly when the average tenure of a superintendent is less than 3 years. Last week, Fred, like you sent an email to the district saying 5 different perspectives over your last 3 years. I will be more succinct. I will provide just one perspective. The perspective provided by principles. Principles transcend politics, personalities, and perception. They're based in reason and respect for universal rules, apart from tone and personal relationships. Some of those principles are governance principles, concerning adequately informing the board about the impact of financial commitments on the curriculum. There's accounting principles, such as the appropriateness of including speculative bond revenue and clarifying when an elected official asks a question about fundamental financial definitions, such as how the general fund reserve is calculated. Many of these concerns were articulated in my letter dated January 14th in advance of your summative review earlier in the year. There's also legal principles, such as the suppression of free speech on matters of public importance, such as open enrollment and non-retaliation for proposing reasonable and sensible policy proposals. And then there are moral principles. I do not believe that it is appropriate to pay a 14-month severance agreement to anyone who abuses their power in a profound and harmful way, particularly when that individual
It's illegal what you were doing right now.
I have
You need to
asked.
stop. You need to stop.
I-
It is literally against state law.
No, it is
You are
not.
trying to do
I-
yes
I
and
don't
no.
Okay,
think
I've
we
asked for
can.
clarity.
We are,
The principle of not
I move that
sweeping
we
problems
adjourn. Yeah.
under the carpet, confronting
Yeah.
challenges
Yeah.
with integrity and
You've got a
transparency.
second. You have a second to adjourn.
to adjourn, or do we want to just vote?
Well, we can go in recess.
Okay, we're gonna go in recess for 10 minutes. So, till 9:50. Thank you. Oh, Jody, yeah?
I was just saying aye, but I guess I don't need to.
You're muted.
I was just saying aye to the recessing, but I guess I don't need to, so never mind.
We're just-
You can do that.
Sorry, give me a second, Mike.
This week.
Okay, just thank you all for the reset. I am going to assume that all board members, wait, we don't have Jody. Jody, are you here? Okay, great. I am going to assume that all board members are well aware of the legal limits of what they can and cannot disclose in a public meeting. Dan, as a personal principal, I am sure that you will not be making any comments that would have a negative impact on anyone who deserves the board's or the district's protection. So you can continue where you left off.
Can you just cite the types of issues that are discussed in executive meetings that by law are not public? Just the three types of, perhaps.
Aaron, do you want to weigh in on that?
Just give me a second.
Okay.
I mean, generally speaking, it's,
Yeah.
if I just do it from memory, there's, the threat of litigation, I'm just pulling up everything.
It's usually like legal matters, threat of litigation,
And personnel.
personnel matters, so like stuff related to employment performance or complaints against employees, and also real estate transactions, which we aren't having any of these days. But
So is your question of what
I just
can be
want to
reasons
make
to
it
go into
clear
executive
because
session?
we're just gonna hear that someone's being silenced and that we have very specific legal obligations to maintain confidentiality with a very, very, very small, specific list of topics. And those are personnel issues, real estate issues, and litigation until those become a matter of public record.
And so what I've asked Aaron is to, I'll give you 1 second to clarify that. I've asked Aaron just to listen in carefully as you're having your discussion. If she's concerned and has reason to believe we should be concerned, she'll just raise her hand and we'll go from there. But Aaron, go ahead.
Just because I want to give you exact language rather than rely on my memory, is to consider selection of site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase from public knowledge regarding such consideration.
Will you slow down just a little?
yeah, I'm none the wiser now.
So basically, it's the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase from public knowledge regarding such consideration cause likelihood of increased price. To consider a minimum price at which real estate will be offered for sale or lease from public knowledge regarding such consideration and cause a likelihood of decrease in price. To review negotiations on the performance of publicly bid contracts from public knowledge regarding such consideration and cause a likelihood of increased costs. To receive and evaluate complaints or charges brought against a director or staff member of the district. However, upon the request of such director or staff member, a public hearing or a meeting open to the public will be conducted on such complaint or charge. To evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment or to review the performance of a staff member. However, discussion of salaries, wages, and other conditions of employment to be generally applied within the district will occur in a meeting open to the public. And when the board elects to take final action of hiring, setting the salary of an individual staff member or class of staff members or discharging of disciplining of an employee, that action will be taken in a meeting open to public. To evaluate the qualifications of candidate for appointment to the board, however, an interview of the candidate and final action appointed a candidate to the board will be in a meeting open to the public, or to discuss with legal counsel representing the district matters relating to district enforcement actions or litigation or potential litigation to which the district, the board, or a member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in adverse legal or financial consequences to the district. Potential litigation is matters protected by attorney-client privilege related to litigation that has been specifically threatened, litigation that is reasonably believed to be commenced, or litigation or legal risks of a proposed action or current practice of the district. The public discussion is likely to result in an adverse or financial consequence to the district. That's for executive session. I'm sorry, I just had some frozen computer.
That's helpful, thank you. Okay, so, go ahead.
I think I've made my position clear, and the conduct, I think it just affirms my concern that we have a culture of cover-up here.
Thank you. I personally don't want to get into the whole debate about this, so like the whole purpose of this was Fred's contract is a 3-year contract. I believe, well, since I've been on board, our superintendents have always had a rolling 3-year contract, so we have just added an extra year to the end of that, as is typical in public schools. I think this has been a lovely illustration of what a challenging job you have, Fred, actually, talking about like the ultra marathon and the highs and lows. So thank you for sticking with us as a district, and we're all grateful. I think I hear from a lot of families, both on all sides of the political spectrum, on all sides of, the spectrum of what they think of what the district is doing, and they're all like, thank goodness for Fred. So I'll reiterate that and ask if we have a motion to approve the contract.
I move we approve the amendment to the superintendent contract.
Before you go, can I
Yes.
just make a comment?
Yes.
I think, the references to students is, why I show up each day. It's why these people show up each day. And sometimes we feel a long way from students in this building, and we try to make sure that we're getting in there and having conversations day in and day out. It's the staff who we get to work with day in and day out who are showing up for kids. And it's this group here that you see, and then the directors and everyone else behind it. So I stick around because of all the people. And that's why I continue to do this work. And I believe that it's super important that we show up. And I just publicly want to make sure that all of our administrators, all of our teachers, our paraeducators, bus drivers, as they go, so goes the district. And ultimately, that's me. And my job is to work closely with you to make sure that we're heading in the right direction. And I think there's a few more benchmarks to hit, getting to that 5% fund balance mark, that floor, before I come back to you for financial increases. Right now, it's trying to put finances into our system. It's not about trying to fall on a sword or anything. It's just I've got some things that I feel like I still need to accomplish for you as a board and for our community. And we're going to do that. And it's going to be with this team right here. So thanks to our team.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the superintendent's contract extension, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say
Nay.
nay. That is passing by a vote of 4-1. Thank you all. Our next item is public input, but I understand we don't have anyone signed up for public input, so unless someone has just miraculously appeared and handed in a slip in the last 5 minutes, okay. Yes,
I guess I can wait till board reports.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
wanted to make a comment about public input, if I could.
can you hang on to it till
I
public
can
input?
hang on to it.
Okay, thank you. So that concludes public input. And next we have the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Move we approve the consent agenda.
All in favor of approving the consent agenda as posted, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay. That passes by a vote of 4-1. The best thing was removed from the consent agenda, so now we have superintendent report announcements.
Great. Just a couple of announcements and reports today. I want to start with the board updates that Ian has been putting together following each board meeting. He's been putting together based on conversations that we've had, recap and synopsis. And you had asked for him to come back and kind of talk a little bit about analytics that he's seeing, traffic for that, how long it's taking him. And so I want to turn it over to Ian, and as we're pulling it up, just appreciate it's been an evolution. Each time he refines it and is in, what do you think about this? How about if we do it this way? And he's got lots of great ideas, and so I really want to thank you, Ian, and turn it over to you.
Yeah, Andrea's just bringing up a little document I put together of the analytics, Google Analytics page views from the 6 board meeting recaps we've done for the last 6 meetings. The URL is in there, and this is just a very, if there's a way we can make it a little bit bigger, yes. So the very first board meeting recap we did was March 13th that we put together. It had 46 page views. A page view is someone going to the page and actually reading it and looking at it. There were 20 people that did that. So when you see 20 active users, that means 20 different people, individuals went to it, and they went to it 2.37 times and were on the page for an average of 1 minute and 42 seconds. So that first board meeting recap views, the users, the active users, user time is put in for all 6 of the reports to give you an idea of how many people went to it. The first 2 meetings had 46 and 48, but Andrea, if you scroll down, the third meeting had 121 page views, so we jumped up quite a bit. That meeting, we discussed a possible RIF, and we had a Pathfinder award presentation. We had KMIH get an award. We had Lola, Melian Lafeneur from the middle school came in. So we had some good recognitions as well too. So those were some of the things that could have bumped it up to 121, and then we've got 76, 74, and then the last meeting only had 42 page views. So we seemed to hit a high the 3rd week, and then the 4th, 5th week that we've done them is fairly high, and then it dropped down, and I don't know right off why that is, but one of the things you will notice too, and I have these printed out if you'd like them, is the average time on the site went down from each week. So people were spending less time on the page. Maybe they went exactly to what they wanted to find and clicked on it and linked on it. And so that's one thought there, but I don't have a real grasp of why the average time went down. And then some production timelines that are a note, just sort of been putting this together. It took a lot to put the first one together because it was new, but now once the agenda is published by Michelle and sent out via email, I'm able to take the agenda and create a document to have all the agenda items and then address them and write on them while we're in the meeting. So like today, you've been talking about different things, and I've been putting those votes into my write-up, and then it takes about an hour to hour and a half after the meeting to get the YouTube video on the site and get it put on the site and then put on social media, and it's put on all of our websites and shared on all of our social media platforms. So the views and users that are going to it are seeing it either on our website or linked to on social media to read it.
So I follow all of the district's social media, and I'm not sure that I have seen.
We haven't put it on Instagram, we put it on Facebook and LinkedIn. And we put it a couple times on Twitter. Actually, that's a whole different conversation about our engagement on Twitter. It's just almost non-existent. And I haven't posted it a few times on X. It's just, I don't know. I'm even considering when Fred and I meet in the summer to talk about our communications plans, if we even use that platform anymore, because it's just non-existent.
I feel like a lot of people with school-age kids are not necessarily on that platform. So I was incorrect. I do not follow us. I don't follow us on LinkedIn.
If you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
is, okay, so it is on LinkedIn and Facebook, but I don't post it on Instagram.
Yeah.
But at a meeting, if we have a recognition, the photos of the recognition get posted, the comments that Fred will make about a recognition, comment that you will make about a recognition of someone, those get posted as their own separate piece of content on all the platforms. So I should be more clear that it's Facebook and LinkedIn.
Okay,
Sharing it.
but I do follow on Facebook, and I feel like I haven't seen like links to this, which just makes me wonder if they're maybe not being promoted as much by Facebook, like because like there's no fun photo or something.
Well, there is a photo posted with each write-up at the top. There's also photos within the story. Facebook will grab the photo we designate as the thumbnail
Yeah.
to populate, so we'll link in. It could be just that it's not getting as much interaction to drive it up people's news feeds.
Yeah.
To be seen.
Okay.
I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah.
I have not, but I will also say that we have very long meetings, so it's less appealing than the reels.
Oh, for sure, for sure. It's not nearly as good as like, a bunch of soccer players all smiling or whatever, so.
Dogs or.
I just am wondering if there's some way to like, kind of, I feel like there are more people out there that would love to read this recap that are not that don't necessarily know it exists, so I don't know what the answer to that is.
And we're not here to try to promote, keep it or not, we just
Yeah.
want to give you information, this is what we're learning. It is a nice place to go back to as an archive to say, oh yeah, which board meeting was that? We can
Yeah.
quickly see it, but anyway.
One thing also with our launch to Parent Square is that it's possible that we start sharing it. Parent
Ooh,
Square, we're not emailing it
Yeah.
right now to school message, through our,
Yeah.
we're not emailing it to anyone, but it is something that we can consider linking to it if we're able to do weekly newsletters, bi-weekly newsletters. You can do it from a district perspective of after every board meeting, when you share it on social media, I share it through Parent Square too, so.
or like once a month, like
So, yeah,
the
there's,
May school board meetings.
yeah, there's all sorts of things to consider as it grows and as we publish it.
Well, I really appreciate the update, and it's not a decision for the board to make, it's between you and Fred whether you think that's a good use of your time, but at least I'm not worried that it's too onerous, it's not like it's taking you 8 hours to do
No,
it.
the first one, like I mentioned, took a while just to sort of figure out what we're doing. And it's not onerous in any capacity.
Thank you. Anything else?
Just a couple other
Wait,
things.
sorry.
No, I have a couple.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I think that, with the Parent Square, I think what a great opportunity, like I know that I know the middle school and high school both do regular newsletters with information, I assume the elementary schools do. And that people have a hard time finding those too. And so what a great opportunity for Parent Square to send out an email once a month, twice a month with the links to all of them, because a lot of times, even the former parents that aren't current parents at the school in question want to see it, but don't necessarily think to go look at the newsletter to see what's happening at their alma mater. And anyways, what a great opportunity to send all those links in one
It would
place.
stay
Yeah.
in people's feeds.
Yeah,
Stay in the
exactly.
browser and it's there.
But what I wanted to say, and I'm trying to keep my snark back, but it's hard. I'm wondering, and perhaps a conversation over the summer, is whether or not we ask the Mercer Island Reporter to publish this as a friend of the reporter or whatever. I don't think it's something that they should require us to pay. As we all know, the reporter has gotten a volunteer person to write up articles that are not particularly fact-based, and certainly not a representation of the business of the board, much more of an opinion gossip column. And I think the community is really interested to know what is happening within the district. And so to be able to publish actual fact-based, here's what happened at the board meeting, I'm not dismissing opinions, those are all valid, but when it's put up as media or fact, what is the right word for that, reporting? It's frustrating. And so I think it's really a great opportunity to get that reporting in front of the board, in front of the community, because I think people really are interested to know what's happening, and then can look further.
My only comment or two comments to that would be, it's something definitely that Fred and I, Superintendent Runnell and I discussed it, it's something that we could look into. Just off the top of my head, it's not something that they would be able to print in the actual physical print newspaper, because the size of the report would change based on the meeting, and if you have a very long meeting with lots of stuff, I don't think they would physically print it, but maybe they would print it online.
Or maybe they would put a link to it.
Yeah,
Or the highlights.
but I just wanted to clarify that, because obviously the reporter there's a print edition that comes out every week, and then there's an online edition.
Yeah.
I think we have more than adequate means of communicating, like channels, and when I hear of giving I guess not even a board approved, but just like an administrator approved synopsis to the reporter after each meeting, that just raises the same concerns I've had over free speech, particularly when the reporter has been told in the past to kill stories critical of positions advocated by some of those in the administration, such as open enrollment.
Christina.
I think the point here is mostly how are we sharing information with the parents? And I will say, for example, in my house, my husband does not get the right information even when I'm part of this. So it's interesting to see how he gets information through different social medias or emails that come through, and how to provide factual information. And I think that that's the whole point, that how are we gonna get there? So parents are informed and know what is happening in board meetings and at our schools, and then question us. I think that the most important thing is that we want feedback, because that's how we work, and the way that we will make schools better is having feedback, and it will be better with the information, factual information for them, so we can have factual information from them to us as feedback, and that's where we have to figure out the best way to do so.
I know we have all hijacked your superintendent report here, but I wanted to say, I think that the issues with the reporters coverage, speaking as a former newspaper editor as well as reporter myself, are a little more nuanced, they're a little more complicated. It's not really about like opinion writing versus fact writing, it's about like a new deliberate policy of not wanting reporters to fact check, and also the new, different tendency to treat comments made during public comment as the story rather than the actual business of the board, and not allowing a chance for, you know, the district to respond to those comments or anyone to respond to those comments. It's kind of unusual coverage for a local newspaper. It's like,
I just want to see, my intention with that, and I went snarky and I apologize for that, because it's just frustrating, because I want the community to engage. I know the community wants to know what's going on. The reporter reaches a segment of the community, the non-parent community, that is difficult for us to engage with.
Yeah.
And that because of the misinformation and misleading facts, or at least the way it's being presented, our administration spends so much time trying to correct that, or to give their real information, the factual information. I'm just looking for a way to provide factual, so that then community members can come and ask questions, rather than questioning whether or not the information they're getting is correct. And we can talk about whether or not we trust the information. That's a whole different issue.
but this is a great tool. The question is just like how to get it out, for example, to that same group of people, right? So, you know, one question might be like, do we promote it to community groups like Rotary, for example? I know there's a lot of people in Rotary who like to know what's going on in the school district, like, and so maybe it's something to go and like make an announcement to there, or like let the Rotary president know about, you know, so he can let people know about it, that kind of thing, you know. Thank you so much. Do you have more?
Just a couple others, or one other. We launched our facility naming committee survey this week, and so that is up. We're collecting two things. One is anyone interested in participating on that committee. Christina will be the board representative, and so we're getting some great feedback for that. We're looking for students, alumni, community members, staff, and others, and then we're also collecting if there are any other additional nominations that people have right now. And so that will go kind of through August, and then we will start some of the meetings in September-ish, and then hopefully bring back to the board some potential recommendations or findings from the committee later in the fall. So those are my updates, other than I hope you have a great next 6 or so weeks away from the board work day in and day out. I know the work never ends. We have summer celebration coming up and a few other opportunities if you want to continue to engage in your role. But I hope that you also engage in your role as parents and friends and family members too. So that's my role.
Thank you. Legislative report.
There's not much to report. I just want to share that I did went to the network, the legislator network. I think it was the most useful one, because we had breakout rooms to talk with different districts, and it was very eye-opening on the challenges that they're having and the tools that are trying to reduce costs, including district considering a 4-day week. Other districts doing different tactics, but it was a school week. It was. It's a very small district, and rural area. It's very. It is the reality is that is not easy, and they didn't have any reliefs through the legislation. There's another one that is mostly have tribal schools, and they don't have the federal scholarships and funds are going away, so they're trying to figure out how they're gonna go to fill all those gaps. So it was actually very interesting to see how each district was going to find different options and solutions to both work with our legislative team and also finding different ideas from other districts. What are you doing? What are we doing? So it was actually a very, very, very good meeting. And just wanted to acknowledge that this is the reality of all the states. So this is not, that's what it is. So it is. That is, and we will, the PTA will be meeting we'll start talking with us to see how if we want and how we're gonna partner this year, to talk with legislators.
Thanks.
Yeah, to add some context to that, it's not just small districts. I believe a few years ago, now Senator Manka Dhingra proposed legislation when she was a school board director on the Lake Washington School District for
It's never school board director.
Okay, she proposed legislation, maybe like before she became majority leader of the Washington State Senate, for a 4-day school week. Thankfully, it did not pass. I think it would be a horrible idea, but this is what happens when you have
Okay, are you providing?
politicians that do not stand for
That's
principle.
not providing
And I would
context.
say that this is also very different on the situation on one school district, that they're trying to find solutions. And I think that this is when doing network with different districts to say, how can we provide support and how can we share the sharing of ideas? What are we doing that might help in your district to kind of modify some things and the other way around? But also it worries me that the equity around the state and how it's gonna impact those students that are in this situation compared to other districts will really impact the students in our state. And that is a worry that I have, and I will be very happy to help the other school districts in the area to find solutions and bring ideas that might help them that we have implemented, or the other way around, maybe they have some, and I think that is a plus of participating in that, because there's no other way that you can do that. So, yes, that was my.
Sometimes,
Yes.
just quickly on that, there's some different reasons that different school districts have done that, and it has not been as much in our state, but particularly in rural parts of other states that have a strong service industry because they're connected to resort towns. They have oftentimes gone to 4-day weeks. They lengthen the school day for the other 4 days, so you have instructional minutes. But it's an example of, it's not always solving problems for a school district. Sometimes it's solving a problem for a community that needs teachers and students to work on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because they're resort towns, and you get an influx of tourists and others. And so there are lots of different reasons why you might see this across the country if you're doing some research on it. So.
Thank you.
And we are not suggesting that in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, just to be clear, no one's.
No, I appreciate it.
But I think it's what happens when you look for
Okay,
solutions to non-existent
okay,
problems.
stop. Now, that was the legislative report. Now we're going to move on to the individual board member reports, starting with Jody. You don't know Jody, but like where your face is on the screen, you're kind of at the far end of the.
You're where the students sit.
Where the students sit.
Yes, I'm like a student rep. Since our last board meeting, Christina and I went, I'm ready to you there, Christina. Christina and I went to the Crest graduation ceremony, which was delightful. So we enjoyed that ceremony very much in addition to the regular high school graduation ceremony. And I'll let Christina tell anything further if anything further comes up. But that was it for board responsibilities for me since last meeting.
Deborah?
Just going through my calendar. I just want to congratulate all the students in the class of 2025. Graduation was impressive. It was a little hard to hear everything from our vantage point, just the way the sound was, but I understand it was an excellent experience for the audience and parents and students alike. And
I think that the things that have already been said in terms of, we should judge our district and the success based on our students and whether or not they're achieving the things that they want. And I think that they are. And I'm just really proud of that, and I'm really proud of them and wish them the best. Also went to the Juneteenth celebration where a lot of our students and staff were celebrating Juneteenth, and it's just wonderful events like the farmers market every week and summer celebration to see our community coming together and celebrating our community as a whole. I wanted to also, I was going to ask to do this during public input, but we didn't have any. It's been really, anyways, let me just make my statement that just a reminder, when advocating for improvements that support all students, it's essential to uphold the privacy and dignity of individuals, especially those with special needs. Protecting confidentiality not only aligns with legal and ethical responsibilities, but also strengthens trust and inclusion across our school community. We're committed to honoring every student's journey, embracing who they are and who they are becoming. As a district, we follow strict confidentiality laws when sharing data and information, and the board is responsible for ensuring that these standards are met. While we understand that community members may have concerns and questions, and that outside perspectives are often shared out of care and commitment, it's important that accurate information guides our conversations. We welcome dialogue grounded in respect and shared purpose, because when we work together with honesty, empathy, and integrity, we create the strongest path forward for all our students.
Thank you. You want to include a copy of that?
I'm happy to include a copy of that. I will send it to Michelle.
Yeah. Christina, individual.
Just participated in the Conservation High School, which I am, as I said before, very, very proud of all those students. The Juneteenth, I did attend to the AI and Ethics and Policy Conference. It was pretty good, actually. I think that I would love to later in the summer, when there's not much school-related things, maybe share some comments with Annalise and Fred. It was, I think there is, eventually it will move to policy AI. And I think that when we're in the conversations on how this and should affect our families, we can be part of how policy will impact us. So I think that being in the early conversation will benefit schools and will protect students, because definitely there's always the push of companies to develop their own policies to protect trade secrets, etc., which is totally okay. And at the same time, we also have to ensure that we are protecting our students when they develop the different AI tools. So there is a push by higher education on how to regulate this, and I think that K-12 should be in that conversation. How do we want this to look like when it goes to policy level at the state and federal? So it was very interesting. So I think that we can see if we can talk, because I think it's gonna take some time to guess how we're gonna work and move that way. It's a long road. So, but yes, it was really worth it.
Thank you. Yeah.
I want to reiterate Deborah's congratulating the class of 2025, the culmination of a long journey. One of the privileges and honors of serving on the board is to see the accomplishments of the students in an array of activities, from sports to academics to performing arts. And that's something that hopefully you enjoy the summer and look forward to the journey takes you next. And then as a board, to not allow the accomplishments of students to be used as a shield to protect from questions of self-examination, and if we're doing everything to support our students.
Thank you. I haven't done anything since last meeting except for attending graduation, and I'll echo those congratulations to our wonderful class of 2025. it's true, I will say, as the person sitting on the stage, it was very, very hard to hear what was going on. I kind of thought maybe we all needed like a little earpiece, like a musician or something, because I probably could only understand like 20% of what most of the speakers said. So it was worse than Araya, actually.
Benaroya was the best.
Yeah, in terms of the acoustics.
Arenas.
Yeah.
But it was tough to listen.
No,
No, but
the arenas
before that-
prior to Benaroya,
That was
Benaroya is
that.
the first time I've ever been able to understand.
Yeah. Also with the AI, I would love to just get together to hear more about that AI conference, since I wasn't able to attend, but just so you know, I am going to be doing an independent study this summer on AI in the classroom at my school, because people in my department at UW are actually doing research on this, and I was all like, ooh, can I kind of piggyback on that? So I'm just gonna like read what they're doing and read what they've found in their lit review. But I did want to draw people's attention to the MIT student study that came out just recently that found that 83% of students in this experiment they did could not remember what they had written in an essay using ChatGPT 30 minutes later. So 30 minutes after writing the essay, they could not remember what they had written. So that's a little alarming, but I think either the same study or a related study found that people who were using ChatGPT in a different way, like to generate ideas or to help them organize stuff, actually had like better performance and better recall later. So I think it's all about kind of teaching kids like the difference between sort of like lazy use of AI versus use of AI that will actually enhance your learning. So I think that's a fine line to be walking. I also, since we won't be meeting in July, wanted to wish Christina early a happy birthday.
Yes.
And that's all I've got. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
You guys are like the motion
Yes.
second team today. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. 5-0. Thank you all very much.
And 28.
Yes.
Even with the long pots?
Yes. Thank you all.